morning and welcome to Unstoppable. I'm Alex Ashley.
And I'm Ashley Robinson. On today's show, we'll bring you the latest on GW sports, update you on the F1 season, and recap March Madness.
Also coming up is a breakdown of the NBA playoffs, a preview of the NFL draft, and top plays. But first, it's time for the rundown. GW Golf ended its spring season with a sixth-place finish at the Wofford Intercollegiate in Hickory, North Carolina. The Revolutionaries opened with a 292 in the first 18 before posting a 290 in the second round and a 286 in the final 18. Jed Dye and Jacob Perinda led the team, each tying for 18th with a 7 over 217. Rodrigo Barahona finished a shot behind to finish in a tie for 21st place with an 8 over 218. The team will head to Orlando, Florida next for the A10 Championships.
Men's and women's track competed in 2 meets last weekend, hosted by the University of Virginia and Stevenson University. At UVA, senior Ryan Folks took home the win in the men's 1,500-meter run, running a time of 3 minutes and 50 seconds. At Stevenson, grad sprinter Rachel Horowitz earned 2 wins in the 200 and 400-meter dash, running times of 25.92 and 58.36 seconds. Both teams will compete this weekend at UVA and Johns Hopkins University.
The women's lacrosse team fell 16-7 in Richmond last week, despite taking a 2-1 lead after the first quarter. This loss comes after a 15-14 overtime victory at VCU the week before. The team stands 4-11 overall and 1-5 in conference. The Revolutionaries are set to take on UMass in their final away game next week and LaSalle in the district before heading to Pittsburgh for the A10 Championships.
Baseball suffered a hard-fought series loss to Richmond last weekend. The Revolutionaries bounced back with a 13-1 win against the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. The team will face off in a home series against the Rhode Island Rams this weekend.
The women's rowing team held the GW Invite this past weekend in the district. Despite high winds, the team was able to top the Tar Heels in the Varsity 8 on Friday. GW also beat Drexel in both Varsity and Second Varsity 8s in a shortened event due to weather. The Buff and Blue will head to George Mason next for the George Mason Invite.
Softball has been playing a strong season, with first-year pitcher Cece Smith reaching her 100th strikeout last Sunday. The team then swept George Mason at home in a doubleheader on Tuesday, winning 10-2 in the first game and 2-1 in the second. Like the baseball team, they will also play the University of Rhode Island this weekend. That's it for the rundown. Up next, Mark, Zach, and Spencer break down the NBA playoffs.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Frontline Hard Court Edition. I'm Zach Brody, joined by Spencer Sachs and Mark Achkar. So much NBA action to talk about, and man, are my Knicks looking good. It's a good day to be here. It's a good day to be alive, and Mark, I'm going to start with you. Let's start in the East. What are you looking at? What are you looking for? Who are some of the teams that you're looking to make a deep run?
Yeah, I mean, the elephant in the room, let's go Boston Celtics. I mean, obviously they have the best record in the league, 64 wins, 14 games above second place, and they have no excuses to lose this year. If this is the year to do it. And the other team I want to look at is the Bucks. Kind of opposite directions. They're trending downwards.
Yeah.
Giannis be out a significant amount of time. We don't know Dame's status, how he feels in the Doc Rivers hiring is not looking too good right now.
You think he's a first-round exit? Are they the upset team here?
I mean, I think with no Giannis, the Pacers, I think they could upset.
With no Giannis is
tough.
Very.
They're not.
With no Giannis is very dangerous. I mean, he's the heart and soul of that team. I don't have a lot of confidence in Dame personally to lead that team. I just think it's a Giannis-led squad.
I mean, it could very much turn into what the Blazers have been for a long time with Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is great. He has a role piece, whether it's Nurkic, whether it's Mason Plumlee when he was there for a bit. Like when it's these role players, I'm not saying Chris Middleton is a role player, but like when you look at him in like the sense of what he does, he acts more as like a 2 than he does as like a 1B kind of player. And can Dame do it again? I don't think so. Right?
So
this is not the same Dame that came over from the Timberwolves.
So, I mean, it's not going to be the Bucks, and let's be honest, the Celtics are just terrible, so it's not going to be the Celtics. Spencer, give me your take. Who's coming out of the East, and what players
let's
really
be honest
leading
here.
that squad?
I truly think that since the Bucks are weak, right? We really agree on that.
We do.
It's got to be the Knicks, right? I will say that. It sucks to say it, but the Knicks are in the best position to do so. Okay? If you come look over here, right, you'll see some great betting odds. Thank you to our friends here, and thank you to Vegas, right? First of all, the Knicks to win the East is plus 1,300, which, isn't the best odds, obviously. I mean, the Celtics are probably plus 700 or something, but it's still very good. And I personally think Jalen Brunson will win MVP if the Knicks make it to the finals. Now, it's a big if, right? Because there's a lot that has to happen that goes right. Obviously, the Celtics have to be the Celtics, right? They have to choke like they do every year. And Jalen Brunson has to produce like he did in college. I mean, he's producing college numbers. He's at 28 points per game. But can he do that again? Can he do that for an entire postseason where he's going through a very weak 76ers we saw with the play-in games, right? Is it the same team that can beat a Giannis-less Bucks or even the Pacers, right? And then can it get through a juggernaut of the Celtics, right? These are three very good, hard teams. And if they make it that far, Jalen Brunson will be MVP, by far. But that's a matter of if they can get there.
I mean, personally, the fact that Jalen Brunson is not in the USA team right now is simply insulting. So I think that's a great take, and I guess we'll give the same to you, Mark. But let's switch to the West. Give me the team that you think is coming out of the West, and same thing, that player that you think can take whatever team it is.
Yeah, so regarding the West, Wild Wild West, unlike the East, which the Celtics are going to run through, I'm going to go with the Clippers, actually. I know that the Nuggets are good, the Thunder are good, Suns, Timberwolves, but I think this is the last dance for them. Let me go show you why. At plus 650 odds, I'm going to take them. Nuggets are around like plus 150. But here's the thing. There are 4 future Hall of Famers on this team with Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook, who's doing great off the bench.
Russell Westbrook Hall of Fame.
I was going to say.
Kawhi is a cyborg. Are we forgetting what this guy is? He has 2 Finals MVPs, shut down the Warriors dynasty and the Heat dynasty.
Can you do it again, Mark? Can he do it again?
I think he can. Health is the key. That's the thing. The issue the Clippers have
That's
been
his
health.
problem.
Paul George and Kawhi have always been injured, but if they can stay healthy, they'll make a finals run. They're playing the Mavs in the first round. If they can get by the Mavs, I think they'll get by the Thunder and potentially make a finals push.
I mean,
I don't know about that.
Okay. It's not a bad take at all. You just really got me with the Russell Westbrook is going to be a Hall of Fame player.
I mean, well, he will be a
Hall.
Hall of Famer because I think that the league will overvalue what he's done with the triple-double.
He's an MVP.
I don't disagree with you, right? That's why I'm saying that he will be a Hall of Famer because the league will overvalue that, right? In the sense that he's an
average
MVP
triple
player.
over 3 straight years.
But if you look at
first ballot Hall of Famer.
I don't think
yes,
so.
he
He will
is.
not be. I don't know
if we can go that far, but I guess
so.
that is going to be a discussion for another day. We're going to wrap things up here. Thank you so much for hanging with us on Unstoppable, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Thanks, guys. Now we go to Sarah and Tia with the latest on F1.
Welcome back to GW Unstoppable's Formula One coverage. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Tia, and we're excited to be back for a mid-season check-in, so let's jump right in. We are going to start off with a very exciting Australian Grand Prix. The reason this is exciting is because Ferrari finally ended up with a P1, P2, and then we also ended up seeing Lando getting P3. Carlos won while being only 2 weeks post-off from his appendicitis surgery, so it was finally great to see someone other than Max win. We were so excited to see Ferrari finally get their P1, P2. It's something that they've deserved for a while, I think, but it just hasn't been able to happen. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best of luck for the Mercedes. They both ended up being out, so best luck to them next time.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, a lot of this was also due to Max Verstappen's DNF during the 5th lap. This happened because smoke was coming from the back of his car, and then later it was found out that his brake was stuck, and it ended up catching on fire when he got back to the pits. This was an interesting bit, and it allowed the other drivers to really get ahead and show off what they could do. And seeing Carlos perform like that 2 weeks out post-op is incredible, and it was amazing to see. But then at the very end of the race, we kind of got a little bit of a deja vu flashback to the 2023 Singaporean Grand Prix, where George Russell crashed on the final lap. In this one, it kind of looked like he lost his back tires, and then he went out into the barrier, hit the barrier, and then went out into the middle of the track, which caused a red flag. But it's a sad end for the race, and it's unfortunate that he wasn't actually able to finish it. But at this point, we're not really surprised. Australia is a very interesting track. It always gives us a little bit of turmoil, people flying off everywhere, but it was a very interesting thing to see.
Unfortunately, our non-Red Bull winner streak did not last long because when the Japan Grand Prix happened, we had a Red Bull 1-2 with a 12.5 second gap between Max Verstappen and Perez. The only eventful thing that happened was that at the start of the race, there was contact between Alex Albon and Daniel Ricciardo, which caused both cars to crash into the barriers. Between P2 and P3, there was a 20.8 second gap between Perez and Carlos Sainz, who was able to snag P3.
Yeah, it's still a really sad thing to see in Formula One because we're really used to that fast-paced overtake and really being competitive and having less than a second in between P1 and P2. But now we're seeing multiple seconds, up to 20 seconds, and I think that's just very sad for the sport overall. And it's also sad because Japan is one of my favorite tracks because it's the only one on the calendar that's a figure-8 format, and so it's usually really fun for me to see and experience, but this one was just a little bit more boring than I would have hoped. While that was a very uneventful race, this upcoming weekend we have the Chinese Grand Prix, which is taking place for the first time in 5 years due to travel restrictions in China. This is taking place at the Shanghai Audi International Circuit, and this is also the first sprint race of the season. We're really excited to look to see how the drivers perform in this shorter format, and we saw this morning in qualifying, surprisingly, we have Lando Norris taking P1, Hamilton taking P2, and Alonso taking P3, and Max in P4. So we're really going to see if we can get that tussle that we've been looking for. This will definitely be an interesting race, but we'll have to hold out hope for another no Red Bull win.
I mean, we're definitely excited to see what's going to happen. It's been getting a little repetitive. We want to see who will be able to take this, especially seeing that Max did not even get podium this time for qualifying. So we're really excited to see what happens. We're hoping that we don't have another 40-second gap between P1, P2, P3, and we're hoping to see more from this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it for F1 on Unstoppable this year. Up next is Zach Brody with a recap of March Madness.
Welcome in to Unstoppable, back right here for all of the March Madness recaps. I'm Zach Brody, and so many storylines coming out of March. But how can we not start with this? A 4 seed and an 11 seed were 2 of the top 4 in the men's Final Four. And we have to talk about NC State because an 11 seed making it to the Final Four is simply nuts. They started off beating a 6 seed Texas Tech. There's your first upset. Got lucky, played Oakland, took that one by about 6, so a nice margin. Then they go on to beat the 2 seed Marquette and then the 4 seed Duke. So just a really strong performance from them all around. The Wolfpack in the Final Four took on Zach Edey and the Boilermakers, but sadly for DJ Burns, he was number 2. Zach Edey had a cool 20 points, 12 rebounds, and Purdue put this one away pretty easily. On the other side of things, Alabama showed us all what they can do, and it's a little bit more than playing football. Let's take a look at their journey. They start all the way over there with that 13 seed win. Again, not crazy. A second lucky break with Grand Canyon, 12 seed. Here come the upsets. They beat number 1 North Carolina, huge upset. And then again, 6 seed Clemson, but Clemson was running hot on that kind of bottom side of the bracket over there. So Alabama able to put together a nice run and get a few lucky breaks to make their way into the Final Four. They took on the reigning champion Huskies, but again, 24 points from guard Mark Sears just wasn't enough to beat out UConn. Coming into the second half, UConn led by 4. They never looked back. And the Huskies ended the night with 6 scorers in double digits and a chance to go back-to-back, which brings us to the big one. UConn, Purdue, the battle of the big men. And this one just might shock you, or maybe not, because UConn went back-to-back. Zach Edey was doing Zach Edey things, and honestly, in this game, Zach Edey was pretty incredible. He was clearly the better big man, which is surprising considering that UConn won. Edey had 37 points. That's the most in an NCAA final game since 1978. Unfortunately for him, everyone else in a Boilermakers uniform combined for a mere 23 points. UConn, Donovan Clingan, they took care of business and secured their second championship in 2 years. Dynasty? this just might be the case. And here's one to remember. With the men's and women's teams combined, they have 17 championships in the last 30 years. So let's turn to the draft. Questions remain. Will either of these big men be on the top of the draft board? There's been a lot of talk about, can the big men in college reciprocate from college to the league? We've kind of seen some back and forth with that. These are two guys who are very questionable, could easily both go top 5, or you could see a guy like Zach Edey fall to the middle of the draft. So a lot to be seen in the world of basketball, but that's all we have for today. Now to Spencer, Alex, and a pretty interesting NFL draft unstoppable prediction. Thanks for joining us.
And welcome into Unstoppable's NFL Draft Preview. I'm Alex Ashley.
I'm Spencer Sachs,
I'm Jack McGuire.
our whiz kid.
So Spencer, right here we got some top prospects for the draft. Obviously, Caleb Williams, mostly predicted to go number 1 to the Bears. What do you make of this list right here? Any surprises that you see happening? Any trades? What do you got?
Well, realistically here, I don't think Marvin Harris stays at 4, right? The Cardinals have the 4 pick, and they've been thinking about trading it for the longest time. I mean, they really are all over the place with so much smoke in the air that there's got to be a fire somewhere. So I think on draft day, they're going to pull off a trade off of 4. Yeah. Marvin Harrison won't be the pick. J.J. McCarty will, because...
But we got the MHJ, the heir successor to Mr. Larry Fitzgerald in Arizona.
I don't disagree, but the problem is that
Give Kyler Cook.
I think the Cardinals have so many holes in their roster that they could use any pick they could get.
Exactly.
Sometimes you just need a quarterback and a wide receiver, a la Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. See what that does.
So who's going to take 4 from the Cardinals? Who's in the spot to move up? The Vikings have been maybe predicted to move up to 5.
The Vikings, it could be the Broncos. The Broncos could be a move.
Maybe.
It could be...
Could be the Giants.
Could be the Giants at 6.
We might see the Chargers move back, but I think they'd be thrilled to stay at number 5 and grab the second best wide receiver in this draft. Maybe it ends up being the best receiver in the draft, Malik Neighbors.
I think that Marvin Harrison is going to go 5, right? Because I think a quarterback's going to.
If Marvin drops to the Chargers, they will
be
happy.
Thrilled. It'd make their entire offseason of losing Keenan, losing Mike Williams, taking both those guys out there. Their wide receiver room's a mess. And yes, do they need an offensive tackle? And Joe Alt, probably the best offensive lineman prospect in the draft this year.
Do tackles score touchdowns? Nah.
Do tackles protect quarterbacks?
But if you're
here's the other toss-up on the board. We got the Commanders going at 2, Patriots at 3. There's some rumors the Patriots have been open to trading that pick at 3. Do we think Jaden Daniels and Drake May are still going 2-3? Is there some movement there? Jack, what do you got?
I think Drake's going to end up going 2. I don't think the Commanders are as high as Jaden as we think. Also, Drake's 2 years younger than Jaden. Jaden's going to be 24. Drake's only 21. 22. So I think the Commanders are going to end up going Drake, and then we're at the.
Do you think the Patriots take Daniels at 3, or do they trade back Jerod Mayo's first year?
I think they're going to try to. I think they're going to try to trade back to somebody who wants a quarterback.
Going back to number 2 of the Commanders, though, they're coming in with a roster that already has wide receiver pieces, coming in with running back pieces. They have an offense that's ready for a quarterback. Is Jaden Daniels the better quarterback to fit into the system right now? Because Terry McLaurin's on an extension right now. He's got 2 years left on his deal. By the time that Drake May gets to the point Jaden Daniels age-wise is, right, he's going to be 2 years into the league, we're going to know what they have.
But who knows what the Commander system even is? New coach, new GM, so...
Well, but who knew what the Texans system was? And then C.J. Stroud came in, right? But then also the Panthers had no system, and you saw how that went. So there's no guarantees in the quarterbacks in the top 3 anymore.
Well, I mean, isn't the first-round percentage of quarterbacks like 50% that they hit?
It's less than that.
So we're looking to have 4, maybe 5 quarterbacks out in the first round. Who do you think has the biggest bust potential?
McCarthy.
McCarthy,
easily.
Because any other draft, granted this draft is QB stacked, we'll give it that. But McCarthy didn't have enough on tape to prove himself, right? He was in an offense dominated by Blake Corum, who was running over everyone in the Big Ten. They had a solid
running over Wisconsin in the Big Ten, isn't he?
Sure. He had a 76% completion rate, one of the highest in the league. But he also didn't throw that many passes. So there really isn't enough tape to see what he can do in an NFL system. I don't think Michigan especially doesn't run a West Coast system.
Certainly not.
And especially when you're going into the NFL, it's more air raid style now. That's what's popular. I don't know how he stands up on his own, and there might be a development curve on him. So if he goes to a team maybe the Giants sits behind Daniel Jones. Then when Daniel Jones gets benched halfway through the season, which will happen,
Probably.
he comes in,
100%.
maybe he'll do all right. But other than that, I see him as a Kenny Pickett for this year's draft. I don't see him having
can see
that
that.
high of a ceiling.
Do you see Drake May though? I mean, I know
I
it's
think
a.
Drake
I
might
think
be the
Drake
only
May.
good one.
I think he's gonna be the bust.
I think
Oh, I
his
think
Herbert.
I think hot
Oh,
take. I think Caleb.
disagree about that. No.
Caleb,
How?
Chicago.
How?
Good
He's
luck,
coming
boys.
in- He's
Good
coming
luck,
in with
Chicago.
an offense that's great.
Good luck,
He's coming in
Chicago.
with a defense that's getting better.
He's going to be much better than Justin Fields. I don't.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
He
his
will-
pro comp's Kyler Murray.
He doesn't need a pro comp to be Kyler. It doesn't matter.
Well,
he comes in with an offense that has everything they need. They just picked up
A
DeAndre
32-year-old
Swift.
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen, who's
DJ
made the
Moore.
Pro Bowl every
I know,
year
no,
for the
Keenan-
last
dude,
5 years.
Keenan slaps. Keenan slaps.
Keenan is one.
It's
I
a
think,
good- it's a good
first of all, as a fantasy football owner of his for the last 4 seasons, I think he's one of the best.
Keenan's great.
But
Keenan is great.
like he's coming into a system that's perfect. It's got an offensive system that works because we know it can work. And I do think
so you
he's better
say.
than Justin Fields. He's coming in with a veteran presence, as I was talking about last show with Keenan Allen. Like he's coming in with 3
He's got
impact.
DJ Moore.
He's got DJ Moore. He's coming with impact players all along his offense. An offensive
Time
line
will
that, truth be
tell.
told, is a top 10 in the league.
But
Time will
I
tell.
think the Bears' highest record you could expect with a rookie QB, it's still 7-9,
Yeah,
7-10.
100%.
I disagree.
Right? I don't think it's 1 year turnaround for them. Because also, there's too much of a losing culture in Chicago for one team.
Straight up.
One year, one team to turn that all around,
Well,
right?
well, then
It'll
I-
be a slow
And
burn
unless you
for
got
them.
Joe Burrow, like my
Well, it's also
beloved
they come in
Cincinnati
with
Bengals, you're not going to turn around. And Caleb Williams is not Joe
That is
Burrow.
true.
But I would also add on to that, though. I mean, obviously you're a Packers fan, so you come with a little bit of the NFC North bias. But it is a good division, right? It's a very strong division. Can they compete in that division? I don't know. I know they're going to beat the Packers, but will they be able to really do?
Well, they do have the lowly Vikings.
I mean, exactly. Everyone has the lowly Vikings.
then we also
beat
have-
up on.
We have the Lions, and
But the Lions are going to be good, though. The Lions,
All right, boys.
Lions
So
get a year
let's
older.
talk about what's going to happen after the top 10. What's going on after we get out of here? Let's scroll down. We got our big board here. So after the top 10, it kind of falls off. We have a lot of offensive tackles. If we're going to talk about, let's talk about the Bengals at 18. Where are we thinking the Bengals are going to go?
I think you need a corner, right?
No, we're good. We're good. Our cornerback
It's
room's
going to
solid.
be defense, though.
It's gonna be
good
defense,
enough on
yeah.
offense
It's going to
at the
be.
moment.
We're going trenches. It's either going to be an offensive tackle or defensive tackle.
Defensive
Maybe
tackle. You guys need more defensive
Brock
tackle than
Bowers.
offensive.
If Brock Bowers falls,
He's
then
not going to be at 18.
I
He's
can
not going to
see-
be available
I
at
can see
18.
Byron Murphy going at
where's Brock going to go? If not to the Jets.
Brock could go at 10, anywhere from 10 to 15. Is where.
Where do you think the Jets are going to end up going?
Tackle. I mean,
Yeah?
we just picked up 2 33-year-old tackles, both great in their own regard.
It's going to be
but
Fashanu.
it-
You'll
I-
go
Fashanu?
Fashanu, probably.
Yeah, I mean, if Fashanu's there,
We got
probably
Latham
Fashanu.
as well.
Is still on the
Well,
board.
if
Latham,
all,
Joe
maybe
Alt.
if the Chargers balk on 5 with all, I think I could see all going to the Jets.
I mean, Alt is a
Alt's
reach
going to
at
go to the
5.
Titans.
Well, that's why
Alt's going to the
that's why-
Titans at
that's what-
7.
That's what I'm saying is that it could
I
be
could
totally
see
at 10.
Bowers going to the Chargers. I mean, there's a lot of picks.
Bowers to the
have
Chargers
a
would
lot
not
of
be a
names.
bad call.
Bowers,
yeah.
Chargers. If they trade down, they're
That's
not
why-
going to take him at 5.
Well, the
I mean,
question- the
see how
question is-
Kyle Pitts turned out? That was not. They could have gotten Jamar Chase. They got stuck with Kyle Pitts. What's he done? Nothing.
Well, it's also what type of offense uses a player like Bowers.
For sure.
Right. First of all, he's more of a run-heavy tight end than he is a
Yeah.
pass-heavy tight end. And since he's a better blocker than
But if
most
you look
tight
at the
ends.
premier teams in the league, you see how important a premier tight end is. You got the Chiefs with Mr. Kelsey.
who's the Bengals tight end?
That's why we could use Brock Bowers.
And that's why you aren't a premier team in the league. But also on top of that, I mean, like there's many guys all along this list that could move. I mean, I think this is one of the most after number 1, I think every other pick becomes questionable. Because once you get past Caleb Williams, I think everyone knows is the best prospect in this draft by
after
far.
starting at
right?
2, it gets crazy.
Starting at 2, all the way through the rest of the draft, I think you're going to get guys who are overvalued, guys are undervalued. I mean, as you can see from this list here, right? Like, look at all the Alabama players they got coming out again. I mean,
And you know what's crazy this year? If you look at ESPN, you look at PFFF, you look at The Athletic, everybody's rankings are all over the place.
because no one knows.
Daniels is on 2 there. On other boards, he's 6. I mean,
think
like there's a lot of
It's going to be a wild. It's going to be a wild first
will
round,
be.
boys.
And
It's going to be fun.
This
gonna
is
be a
also
wild
a
one.
need-heavy draft, right? Like
Yeah.
in past years where teams have gone in and they said, who's the best available? We want the best player. Teams are going in wanting exactly one piece to fit, right? So this
sure.
corner class, we got Cooper DeJean, we got Terrion Arnold, we got Quinyon Mitchell.
Coop
Like,
has
there's-
Wisconsin written all over him.
There is. I could see it. You know, the Packers are kind of secondary needy. I'll admit that. And Cooper DeJean has the highlight of being a dual player, right? He can play cornerback, he can also play free safety. So he can sink back, and I think that would be a decent pick. There's also a lot of wide receivers here that are all over the place, right?
Beware, Xavier Worthy.
I was going to
Give you a warning.
That's why I could
Bengals, John Ross. Oh.
That's why I could totally see, though, that, like, you can get some of these top wide receivers. I'm not talking about, like, obviously the Marvin Harrisons, but I'm talking about, like, I don't even know, like, your 3, 4.
They're going to go with those
I don't
top
even know,
three.
Adonai Mitchell is a sleeper pick, too.
Adonai Mitchell, like, you'll see him come in and probably
Go to the
be
Chiefs.
a top, like, a top second-round pick. I mean, the wide receiver class is so deep this year compared to other years where, like, you know, we've had those conversations year after year where it's like, okay, great, there's like 4 or 5 wide receivers. They're all going to be top 15 picks.
And there's always
What
that
next?
run in the first round.
Exactly, because once everyone sees, like, okay, there's a wide receiver going, it's the same thing with quarterbacks,
Yeah.
right? In fantasy football, as we all know. Once someone takes that quarterback, there's a 2-round run on taking up quarterbacks because everyone's like, I got to get someone. And I think that's what the wide receiver class that this year might be different.
I think we're going to have 3 in the top 10, for sure.
Well, Jack, what's your top 3 of this board or someone that's not on this board? Who you got going 1,
So
2,
I don't have
3?
to-
Spencer, same to you.
My top 3, it's going to be Caleb, it's going to be Drake May, and then at 3, we're going to have the Patriots trading out to the Vikings to take Jaden Daniels.
Spencer, what you
I mean,
got?
I agree with that. I mean, I think Drake May is a great prospect to have for the Commanders, again, coming in with a great offensive system. We all can agree Caleb Williams will be at number 1. I agree with the Vikings moving in at 3. I could also see the Broncos moving up to 3 and taking Jaden Daniels there. The 3 will be Jaden Daniels. If it's not, it will be one of these two, obviously.
Yeah.
It's a matter of which team moves up into the draft.
Does Jaden Daniels deserve 3 first-round picks, right? If it's the Vikings trading up, they're trading the 11, they're trading the 23, and then probably a first-rounder next year.
Well, I
if
disagree.
they're lucky, a second-rounder next year.
I disagree because
Right?
I think
that
the Patriots
value, and
will
the
get a second.
Broncos have no capital. The
Yeah.
Broncos are broke when it comes to picks.
Which is why they need a
So-
cheap quarterback.
Right, which wouldn't be Daniels.
No.
They can't afford moving up for him unless they're locked into him for the next 5 years.
Which is what they would be, though. I mean, that's
but
an
If the
offense makes
Vikings
sense.
want to keep J-Jeff next year, they need something.
They need something.
Yeah.
Or else he's going to go to the Bengals, team up with Jamar Chase, and win like 10 straight Super Bowls.
That's outrageous.
That's insane. That's the
We will
caffeine
see
hitting.
what happens. The draft occurs on April 25th. Unstoppable is done for this semester, but we will be sure to let you know how all of these new rookies are doing next year.
Let's go.
Let's get it.
Hi, and welcome to this semester's final episode of Top 10 Plays. I'm Issa.
And I'm Rami. We're so excited to wrap up this year with some really great plays. Let's jump right in with number 10. Look at G.G. Jackson driving, shaking and baking past the Nuggets, trying to get his team into a good playoff spot. Look at that Euro step and the finish, the aggressive dunk. He's been playing so well this year. He's been a breakout star, and I think he's going to be a top player in the league next year.
Yeah, 100% agree. At number 9, we have Dylan Larkin from the Detroit Red Wings making an incredible pass on the ground, only to be saved at the last second by Samsonov, just getting his leg out there. What a great play, what a great shot, and what a great save.
Indeed. Coming in at number 8 is more hockey action. The Seattle Kraken taking on the Winnipeg Jets. And a long shot here, and you can barely even see it go in. It's deflected in. Look at how he deflects this in behind his head. That took skill. That was crazy.
At number 7, we have some quarterfinal action from the Champions League. Bayern Munich builds up from across Leroy Sané and eventually finds Joshua Kimmich for the goal. Beautiful shot, beautiful game. Really, just a good time
I
overall.
was just happy to see Arsenal lose this one. At number 6, coming in, Real Madrid visits the Etihad Stadium. Antonio Rudiger has a chance to put away the defending champions, and he does with style. City loses the Champions League. Real Madrid moves on to the quarterfinal. And to be honest, they're my favorite to win the Champions League. They looked really, really good in both legs.
Coming in at number 5, we have the NBA play-in tournament as Zion Williamson drives coast to coast and tosses it up to beat the buzzer. Unfortunate that they would lose and he would go out for an injury, but overall, great shot, great play.
It was a tough day to be a Pelicans fan, but wow, what a special player he is. Coming in at number 4, we have an empty net for the Flyers. 1-1 game in the third period, and you know how this is going to go. Coming in, Oshie puts it away for the Caps, clinching a playoff berth for the Washington Capitals once again. They have just been on fire later this season, and I'm very excited to see what they do in the postseason.
I cannot wait. At number 3, we've got Kyle Lowry is driving in and knocked it loose to Jimmy Butler, who throws it to himself, finishes the fast break play, and they would unfortunately come up short, however, with valiant effort.
What a finish and what a play. That's all for the spring semester of Top Plays. Thanks for watching with us along this whole year, and we hope to see you again soon. And before we go, Issa, this is your last episode, so just wanted to say thank you for having such a wonderful adventure for these last 2 years.
I've had a great time. Thank you for co-hosting with me. Yeah, it's good. Give me a handshake.
Let's go. Cool.
That's it for Unstoppable this morning and this semester. Thank you so much for watching.
And from all of us here at GWTV, raise high.